So we've had a bit of a streaming bug start to go through our house in the last little bit, between my son doing a little bit of streaming, plus him doing his schoolwork. He's using a webcam that we had here in the house. We had two other ones that were used for streaming and other schoolwork and things like that. My wife has started crocheting and streaming on Twitch. So she's using both of those webcams to do that. That left me basically, if I want to do some streaming, it leaves me with my Canon T4i on Elgato Camlink. It's good. It's great picture quality. I do have some issues with the Canon T4i itself not getting perfect 1080p out, and then the autofocus hunting. If you've seen some of my videos recently, it's done some silly hunting and things like that. But I figured, okay, well, I need to kind of get, if I'm doing streaming and say I wanted to stream from the Xbox or do some game streaming while I'm playing the Xbox, I'm not going to be moving the Canon T4i. I wanted just a little webcam or something small that I could hook up to a laptop and do the streaming and get my overlays and all that kind of stuff. But right now with all the COVID stuff, getting a webcam, like the webcams we got now, we got them for under $100. The same one is now going for about $200. So we're not buying any of those anytime soon. And the Camlinks are not cheap either to use some of our old cameras that have HDMI outs that might give us something similar to what we do with the Canon T4i. But I've been seeing a few videos on the internet about some inexpensive USB 2.0 little HDMI video capture cards. Yeah, the Elgato Camlink is USB 3.0. This is a 2.0. I don't know how well it'll work. I know it will just do 1080p, which any of the other cameras I've got sitting around, that's pretty much all they can do outputs for them anyway, except for maybe the GoPro Hero 7 Black, but there's some issues with it. But anyway, I figured I would pick one of those guys up because I saw them on, they're normally shooting about 20 bucks Canadian or so, maybe $22 Canadian, but I saw a place that had them for like 18, super good deal. I'm like, well, that's worth a shot. Maybe it'll work, and if it works, then that's worthwhile to get an extra camera, an easy one that I can just take upstairs. I got a couple cameras I'd like to test. So this video is going to be an unboxing of that device, and I'm going to test a few different cameras on it. So, yeah, there's a box. So I've got this old video camera. It was great at the time. 1080p, 60 frames per second interlaced. So it's a 60i. You can get it to 30p, but it's not a high resolution sensor. It does do 1080p, but it's grainy. It's not great. It does have a zoom though. And the nice thing about it is I could use it, and also I've got an external charger for it, so it wouldn't have to be on battery. I could just run it. We'll have to see though. It doesn't, if I remember correctly, it only ever really did good in bright sunlight. So we'll see what it does actually in a room in the house. GoPro Hero 7 Black with the Camlink that had some major delays. It was like up to a second of delay that I needed to put on the audio to get the just the way the video delays were. Also, I found that it would overheat after about 40 minutes of acting as a webcam with the HDMI out. So I don't know if that's an issue with mine or it's an issue with all GoPro Hero 7 Blacks, but it doesn't last very long as a webcam. So we'll test it, but I'm not expecting that I'll end up using it for anything where I'm sitting down to, say, play a game for a couple hours. And we got the Canon PowerShot 300HS. It's an old point and shoot. We had a waterproof case for it. It was like kind of one of our first waterproof cameras that we could take in the pool or on, we went to Disney and we could go on rides or whatever. So that was a camera we had for that. It does 1080p, 24 hertz only is its maximum. Now, it does have an HDMI out, but I suspect, or I believe, all it will put out for the HDMI is when I'm doing playback of something I've recorded. I don't think it has a live pass-through on the HDMI. So I don't think you get the camera right through to the HDMI. But I'm going to test it and confirm that. And then I got this guy. This is a cheap action camera I picked up a few years back at Menards. I think it was less than $30 US for what is billed as a 4K 30 frames per second action camera. I don't think I would consider it actually 4K. I think it's something upscaled to 4K. Whether it's 1080 or 720, I'm not sure. But it gives a 4K file, but I don't think the sensor itself has the pixels. But that being said, the image on it's not awful. So maybe it's an option. It has an HDMI out as well. So we'll give that a try. But first, we'll do the unboxing. And I guess what we'll also do is we'll do a comparison with the Canon T4i versus the Camlink, just to see what that how they compare. Let's give this an open. Presumably, no, I don't even need the box knife. Interesting. Okay, so just pop open the top. So that just pulls right out. What do we got inside here? Cardboard and a thank you card from the, I suspect not the manufacturer, I suspect the reseller. Put that in there. What do we got here? Quick little user manual. Enjoy the vivid world. It says this input max resolution to 4K, but outputs 1080p. Ports 810 12-bit deep color. Of course, you need your own HDMI cable. It mentions that it will work with VLC, OBS, those kind of things. Windows, Android, Mac, USB video, USB audio. So that is the other thing. It requires no external power supply. So that's the thing with this is that you can get audio off of this and not just the video. So yeah, some other specs, some quick diagrams on how to set it up, quick example on how to hook it up to OBS, because yeah, basically their expectation is they're going to use this for streaming, which was what my use case was too. So that's it for the box, and then just the device itself. Not much of an actual unboxing experience. It's all it is. The nice thing about that is the feel. It is metal, light metal. But that gives it a pretty solid feel, pretty rugged for a little $18 device. One thing to know, like the Camlink came with a little USB extender, because like look at the width of that. That's going to cover, depending on how your USB ports are and things like that, that's probably going to cover the port right next to it when you plug it in. So it'd be nice to have a little USB extender come with it, the same as the Elgato does. But again, it's 18 bucks. We'll go from there. The HDMI connection on that side. Yeah, it's just bring in an HDMI source and it pumps it out to USB 2.0. So let's plug this guy in and we'll give it a try. So this right now is recording through the Canon T4i down through an Elgato Camlink into a USB 3.0 port on a USB hub, 3.0 hub. It might be a touch blurry just because I've turned off the autofocus on the Canon T4i just to prevent the hunting that is occurring. So if it's a little blurry, that's because of how I set up the camera, not because of the Elgato or anything like that. I also have some filters in OBS to give the colors a bit more pop. I'll try and apply the same filters when I test with the inexpensive little device here right away. So yeah, one thing I did find already is that I did one quick check to see if I could just swap this little device in for the Elgato directly. And it worked, but it didn't. What I found was, for some reason, that USB 3.0 hub limiting the output that this thing could push through. It seemed like there was some kind of bandwidth issue with this. Now that being said, I did turn around and put it in a completely different, basically kept it away from the hub, put it in, put some other camera into it. I got the full 1080p out like I was supposed to. There's just something weird there. It does work, it does give the 1080p. There's just some weirdness with this hub for some reason, and I don't know why. So one thing other to note for the Camlink, its output is not fully clean on it. So when it comes out, I have to do some expansion in OBS to basically just get take that just below 1080p and expand it to cover the full screen. So there's a little bit of blurriness that'll come out of that as well. Again, not a problem with the Elgato. It's about the camera on that one. Okay, so right now this is recording through the Canon T4i through into the little cheaper capture device and into a different USB header on my case, just to keep it completely separate from where the Elgato was. It does seem to be coming through the full 1080p. The same output out of the camera was what it was. You can kind of tell the quality's not quite there. I did take the filters that were on the Elgato one, on the camera from the Elgato one, and reapply it. But what I haven't done is played with the filters or the camera video settings in OBS. So there's some, it's a little bit more washed out. The colors are a bit more red. I'm much more red in the face than I was. But one thing to notice here is that around my head, all around the outside here, is those black bars. That's because the Canon T4i does not put out, it does put out a 1080p 30 frames per second signal, but the actual outputted pixels of image is not the whole zone. So there's these black bars around. So in OBS, I will expand that out to put it across the whole 1920 by 1080 scene. I've done a little bit more playing with the color. It's not quite as freaky, and I've expanded the window so the pixels from the Canon T4i fill out the whole thing. One of the other things I tried to turn on was the audio input capture from the device as well, because it in OBS it shows as a video capture device and an audio capture device. So you basically bring in the picture and the audio separately. Now, I did a little playing, and with some other cameras I can get basically audio input out of the camera and use the microphone from the camera if I decide I don't want to use my desk stuff, which again gives me another option if I am, say, got a device plugged into top somewhere using this device and I don't want to have a lapel mic or something like that going on. I can just use that other mic. It's an option. But yeah, it's one thing to note is that it would appear that this Canon T4i is not sending the microphone, when it's in this monitoring mode, it is not sending its internal microphone through the HDMI port. And that's on the camera, that's not on the device. So now I'm using the Canon 300HS. It is plugged in, it's in a monitoring mode, but is not outputting from the camera or the lens right through the HDMI. I hit the play button to play a video play a previously recorded video on the phone, and you see I now get an image. Play the movie, that works. So it does capture it, but it does not work as an actual straight pass through. It means this 300HS cannot be used for a webcam, unfortunately. This is the GoPro Hero 7 Black. I've put on a second delay on the audio coming out of this, just because there seems to be quite a lag from the video and the audio. The audio comes through about a second faster than the video comes pushing through. I think I've got the camera set for a 1080p linear mode, so 1080-30 linear mode, just to reduce any of the processing within the camera if I can. One thing we can test though is this camera will push the microphone through the HDMI and through the capture device. So I'm going to turn off my desktop mic and turn on the camera mic. Okay, so we should be good. This is now picking up the microphone from the camera. There's potential it's muffled. I may be having a finger holding over one of the mic holes, but we'll see what that looks like. So now I have switched the camera to be 4K, 30 frames per second, and you should be picking up the audio from the camera itself, coming through the HDMI and the capture card. All right, so this is the Canon HFR10. This is basically the best picture coming out of this camera right now. See how dark it is? We'll also see how good the microphone in it is, because yeah, I can hear my son in the next room. We'll see if the recording caught it as well. But I'm going to go play with some of the video settings to see if I can get this brighter, and we'll see if it gets really grainy or blown out, or just what happens here as I try and adjust it. So I have played with a few things in the camera itself, and also a few things on OBS, and get a little bit brighter. So this is nighttime, but I've got a fair amount of light in here, so I could basically move this and point it right at my face and be blown out, but that's not a particularly good look for anybody, so it's not fantastic. It is not bad though. The nice thing about this camera is that it does a power jack. I can plug it in and have it going at the same time. So maybe not as a face cam, especially with that kind of a zoom, but what if I put it over somewhere? So it's not bad if I wanted to say use it from the distance. It's supposed to have the autofocusing from facial. I don't know if it's working on. Maybe it can't detect me because it's too dark, but it's not awful. I mean, especially if I was to zoom it down into little webcam mode, it's not too bad, but it's not not ideal, not the best I've seen. The last camera. This is the I don't even have a name for this, but it's the cheapy action camera that I got from Menards ages ago. It's actually not bad. It does not have its microphone, its internal microphone does not go out through the HDMI during this monitoring mode, so I am using my desktop microphone, which is fine. You can see on above me and below me some black bars, so I have to zoom that in, same as I have to with the Canon T4i. So if I do that, let's take a look and see what that looks like. There we go, that's zoomed in. That's not bad, that seems to be working okay. Still using the same 125 millisecond delay on the OBS, but this is working not bad. If anything, this is the best, is just missing a microphone. So I don't mind that. It is doing very fisheye. There's no way to turn off the fisheye, so I don't want to use it as a webcam. But from a distance, over there, from that kind of angle, that's not bad to give me the room shot. So that's not bad. So yeah, so I'm liking the device. I got a couple other things I want to play with, but so far I'm going to say thumbs up for an inexpensive device to get you some of the features of the Camlink. It's not too bad. So here's one other weird little test to try. Let's look at using multiple devices at the same time. So I have the Canon T4i on the Camlink, using as my face cam right here. I have the inexpensive little action camera right there, shooting its widescreen, kind of getting my keyboard, that kind of thing. And then I got the Canon HFR10 over there. Yeah, just a quick check. It looks like you can use more than one of these little capture devices at once. The deal was so good I had to buy two of the darn things just to see what I could do with them, just to play around. So, but yeah, it looks like it works great. A couple things to note that I figured out while I was doing this. I did have an issue with the device through a USB 3.0 hub. I was getting, basically OBS would only detect a lower resolution than the full 1080p 30. I was quite often going down to a 720p or something like that just to get it to be detected and get video out of the device. But it only seemed to be an issue through the USB 3.0 hub. Going into other USB 2.0 ports on my motherboard, that kind of stuff, never ran into the same problem, so I think that's a hub issue. Something to note, so I don't think that's a problem with the device. I think that's just the hub. The other thing is that the camera quality that comes out of it, or the quality of the data that comes out of there, I think is a little bit less than what you get out of the Elgato Camlink. It's pretty solid for something 10th the price. One other thing to note is through the Camlink, the audio and the video come through as one feed. So if your camera supports, like the GoPro does, supports pushing the microphone through the camera out the HDMI port, as well as the video, that'll all show up as one feed, as the Camlink feed in OBS. For the little devices, it will come through as two separate feeds. You have to add the audio feed and the video feed independently as audio and video sources. It's not so bad. That's maybe less convenient, but it's also, if you don't want the audio source or your camera you're using doesn't use it, you don't need to worry about any of that. So, and it does seem to be mix and match depending on the camera on whether or not you do get your audio through. So just have to watch your own device, and whether having to do separate things is a detriment for you or not. It's just something to note. Quick outro for this unboxing and testing of the inexpensive USB HDMI capture card. I like it. It's good. It does seem to be not quite as good quality as the Elgato, the Camlink. That's to be expected. It's probably a tenth of the cost. I paid about a tenth of the cost for the ones I got, so I'm expecting a little bit less quality. Generally, we'll use maybe a less expensive camera on them for use as a webcam converter for an existing camera you may have, just to basically, avoid paying $200 for what should be an under $100 webcam, that kind of stuff in this day and age. It seems to be a worthwhile purchase for me. We'll have to see how they work long term, but they do seem to be great. From the cameras I tested, the best one probably ends up being the GoPro Hero 7 Black for actual picture quality. I do have the heating issues that I had found, but I believe I have that fixed now. That's going to be another video that'll be coming. So like and subscribe, and turn the notifications on to get that one, because we'll be putting a video out for that, because I think I have figured that out. That'll be worthwhile to be able to use the GoPro Hero 7 Black. Next one's actually the very cheap action cam, just to have a video camera in the background, streaming, just giving some some ambience, or if the dogs happen to be in the room and being quiet like they are right now. So that's kind of nice. Maybe be able to capture those guys, that kind of thing. The Canon T4i is still really good, but its hunting stuff is not great. The fact that I can't get the focus to lock properly, and then if I look away from the camera, it loses focus, and then it comes back, and a variety of things like that. The fact that it doesn't, the full 1080p it puts out is not fully camera image. There's black bars, and you got to do some editing, that kind of stuff, to kind of zoom it out, and you lose some resolution there, unfortunately. Yeah, but it's still great. I'm going to use that for some other stuff. I just may use it a different way. But yeah, it's I'm pretty impressed with the little devices. So anyway, that's the end of that video, and yeah, stay tuned for the next one, which should hopefully be the getting that GoPro to work as a webcam properly. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.